Welcome to KERR9000's Sci-Fi Station.
So, unless you've been living under a rock, you will know that we soon have the new Doctor Who specials starring David Tennant as the 14th Doctor coming up. Not only that, you'll be well aware, and if you're not, check it out, BBC iPlayer now has the vast majority of Doctor Who on there. And I'm talking old Who, new Who, documentary stuff, Tales from the TARDIS. It's well worth a look. But what I'm here for today is to talk about the very first Doctor Who serial that you can watch on iPlayer. It's not the first in total. If you want to know about the first, you have to check out my video on The Unearthly Child and why that's not on iPlayer. But we're talking about the earliest one you can currently watch on iPlayer, and that's the Daleks, which is also sometimes known as the Mutants or the Dead Planet. It's the second serial in the British science fiction television show Doctor Who, and it was first broadcast on BBC TV in 7 weekly parts, starting on the 21st of December and running to the 1st of February 1964. It was written by Terry Nation and directed by Christopher Barry and Richard Martin. And most importantly, the story marks the first appearance of the show's probably most popular villains ever, the Daleks. It also is set on the planet Skaro. It talks about the Skaro people, the Files. It lays a lot of groundwork which would sort of be returned to again and again in Doctor Who. It stars William Hartnell as the first Doctor, who's joined with his granddaughter Susan Foreman, played by Carol Ann Ford, and her teachers Ian Chesterton, played by William Russell, and Barbara Wright, played by Jacqueline Hill. Essentially, they land in an alien jungle and they're captured by the Daleks, who, everyone knows who they are now. But on the off chance you've lived under a rock, they're essentially a race of mutated creatures inside a metal shell. The Daleks in this story survive off the radiations in the atmosphere from a nuclear war they had with their enemies. And yeah, that's the setting for this. This story is apparently going to be colorized for the 60th, so I'll look forward to that. But I just want to talk about the version which is already on iPlayer. I think the Daleks were brilliant straight out the bat. I love them. Even in this, 90% of what they're going to be is there laid out. In fact, they were so popular at the time that the show's audience increased by 50% after the final episode of this serial had been shown, with it receiving really popular reviews. And I still think the cliffhanger where Barbara is threatened by a Dalek arm is one of the show's greatest cliffhangers even to this day. Watching it back now though, there are some things which do strike me really strange, because Doctor Who's changed and evolved. One thing is that the Doctor seems less interested in helping the people there and more on just getting the hell out of there and letting everyone else fend for themselves as long as they're safe. At least he does at one point. But there's a point before this where his curiosity gets the better of him and he removes a part from the TARDIS and basically claims that they've got to go to the city to find it. Have to do, the TARDIS is fine, but this is because he wants to be curious and he doesn't want to face an argument with the others. He wants to make them go along with his plan. This doesn't seem that doctorish to a current fan really, because we're used to him being, yeah, he can lie and he can sort of be a bit Machiavellian at times, but usually it's for a greater good, not for his own benefit or curiosity. And usually he's more of the one who wants to make a difference. But, I do think that when you consider this was made, the Daleks are incredible props. They're fantastic, to the point that even now they have not really come on that much. it's funny because I'm thinking about this in terms of spoilers, that I don't really want to give a lot more away. But if you know who the Daleks are, you can probably see how a lot of this goes. But it's basically the Doctor and his crew have come onto the planet Skaro once Daleks exist, but the enemies they were fighting are still around. There's a chance of a peace deal being brokered because the Thals, the other net, need help with food and that. But I suppose what this really boils down to is, do I think this is worth watching? And how do I think people basically from a perspective of people who are more used to New Who? Well, I think if you're used to New Who, this can seem a bit slow at times and like it's dragged out a bit, which that's old TV and films for you. It just doesn't move at the same pace. But really, don't let that stop you. You go with the pace, go with the flow. There is a brilliant story in there, and this is the birth of the Daleks. This affects the whole of Doctor Who from then on. One funny thing is that originally the Daleks are basically, they're influenced by the threat of racial extermination. They are a space equivalent of the Nazis, and that is what they are written as, and that is kind of the whole reason they exist. But Sidney Newman, the show creator, and the head of serials, Donald Wilson, were unhappy with this serial, and they wanted to avoid featuring bug-eyed monsters. And they kind of only went with this because there were no other scripts prepared and ready, and they sort of felt forced to accept this one. And yet, I think this is one of the scripts that led to the show having a long, healthy lifespan. You see, originally they wanted Doctor Who to be more connected to real science. They wanted to stay away from the over-the-top, deal with more things like ancient civilizations, climate change, real science. So this is like a breaking off point where we kind of got more sci-fi, science fiction, monster of the week starting. So I think you need to watch this because turning point that made Doctor Who become what it is. And I also do think that it is a cracking bit of television, and it's not a bad way to start watching Doctor Who either if you're daunted by what's on iPlayer, because, you know, the Daleks are a good starting point because people know who they are. You get a taste of the first Doctor, you get a taste of his granddaughter, one of the most important people that Doctor travelled with. Seriously, check it out. That's all I'm going to say. I hope you'll join me again because I'm going to talk about even more Doctor Who episodes. And, you know, we've got an anniversary coming up. Also, at some stage, I want to talk about the fact that Paul McGann might be getting his own mini-series, which fantastic. The guy is brilliant in the Big Finish audios. There's a review on my channel of one set of the Time War audios, which I strongly recommend you look for. And also, I'll try and leave a link here where I was on a podcast with the excellent guy Peds and another friend Matt, and we were talking about the Paul McGann movie. But that's it. That's me signing off, saying thank you very much for making it to the end of this video. There's plenty more Doctor Who on this channel, lots of horror, lots of video games, bit of dieting stuff, so why not check out another video? Anyway, most importantly, take care of yourself and each other. Laters, taters. Hi, it's KERR9000. I'd just like to say thank you for making it to the end of my video. I've got lots of stuff on my channel, my horror house doing horror reviews, my game room where I talk about video games, Sci-Fi Station, my Diet Corner videos, all kinds of stuff. I can also be found on the Retro Gamer U forum and the J Arcade forum, which are both great places full of great people and some great video game conversations. At the end of this video there'll be a little icon to tick if you want to subscribe, a link to a video and a link to one of my playlists. I'd also like to recommend the wonderful talented Just Jessica 1988 on TikTok, who does a lot of diet videos and is my supportive partner. Thank you once again for watching my video, and particularly if you follow me, thank you for all of your support. Have a great rest of your day. Laters, taters.